So when I explain this to a lay person and they've heard of slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers,
Hmm.
I forgive them for not understanding that
Yeah,
distinction. Like it's forgivable. What you're
yeah.
mentioning is like maybe not most, maybe it is most based on my experience, but many people that should know that don't know that. It's such a simple fact that completely reframes the way you should be doing your training if you understand that principle.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, a lot of personal trainers get their information from magazines and from people who take steroids and have big muscles. And that's where they get their information from. They don't read any of the research or some, like in, politics, you say, oh, why don't you like this candidate? I like this candidate very much. Why? Can you name a policy? Name two policies that you like. And they can't name any of the policies, but yet they say they like the candidate, but they don't know anything about the candidate's policies.
Yeah.
So very often exercise physiologists, scientists, trainers, they say things without knowing the things they're saying. I don't understand. Personally, I just don't get that. I don't understand how people can walk around in life like trainers and train people and know that they don't know, but pretend that they do.
Yeah.
And I don't get
Yeah. That's well
that.
said. That's
you
well
know,
said. For most of the clients that you and I see, they're everyday people. Whether they're stay-at-home
mhm.
moms, business people, entrepreneurs, whatever. They
Yeah,
want to feel good. They want to have
yeah.
energy. They want to be strong. They want to have strong bones. They want to go skiing once a year on their family trip. Whatever. Like it's kind
Mhm.
of more basic stuff. We also have people that really want to perform at whatever level. Like I've got a client. She's in their high school basketball team as a sophomore. She would like to make the varsity squad. I train her in this exact same way. And then she goes to school and her basketball coach puts her through what we would call like functional training. They're jumping off of things. They're throwing heavy balls that are about the same size as a basketball, and they're throwing them like you would throw a basketball. And they're
Yeah.
doing things in a gym that look like basketball that takes up time that they could actually be like on the court playing the basketball. Can
Basketball.
you explain what all of us are trained in? Functional training, quote unquote functional training. You did the
Yeah.
example earlier of a leg extension. When am I doing a leg extension during my day? You do a lot of leg extensions in a normal
Yeah.
day if you are willing to look at it. Can you explain why the
Yeah.
concept of functional training is just it doesn't work as well as what you're promoting?
Oh boy. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot there to take apart to unpack. Um, Again, it is a misapplication of what the current available reliable science is on the subject. They also, once again, they don't understand. They don't they don't read in a basic motor learning textbook. It will tell you that if you want to get good at a particular sport or skill, you have to practice that skill and that skill exactly in order to improve the skill. If it's grossly different, then you will get better at that grossly different thing you're doing because you're practicing that. Like when I played baseball in college, and it was in Vermont, and Vermont always had a mud season, so we couldn't get out on the field till like April, May. So we were inside, and coach would have us running cones to get us good at running bases. It only got us good at running cones because it's got nothing to do with running the bases. And in fact, if you mimic a sport or a skill too closely, like for example, let's say you were practicing basketball on a court and you lowered the basket a quarter of an inch, Larry Bird would miss it every time. But if you lowered it 3 feet, you would easily see that it's different and you could make the adjustment. So the closer you get to the skill, but not the skill, the worse the transfer of skill will be. So it's a difference between exercise, meaning something that causes a positive tissue adaptation, and recreational activity. So the whole concept, for example, of balance training, people will say, well, old people, they need to train their balance because they fall so often. No, the, 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 a trampoline artist could fall on ice. Anybody can fall. You cannot prevent falling. That's impossible. When older people fall, they slip, and they usually are so weak they can't control their legs enough to hold their ground. So putting them on a backboard or making them stand on a ball or making them do some kind of one-legged goofy stuff is only going to get them good at that. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you make an older person stand on one leg and try to stand on these crazy. Let's assume they don't slip and fall and hurt themselves, which they do all the time. So that's sort of like personal trainer malpractice, in my opinion. But let's say they didn't get injured. That amount of work that older person does might very well increase their strength. It's not the most efficient way to do it. It's not the best way to do it. It's not the safest way to do it, but it might actually increase their strength somewhat. So now if they're walking across something and they trip a little bit, they step forward and they can catch themselves. The trainer and the client will think, oh, see, that balance training really helped my balance. No, it just made you a little bit stronger. That's all. So the trainers that believe in balance training, they are unable to differentiate between that. It's sort of like when people say, if you do jumping on the trampoline increases, what do they call it? Lymphatic drainage. And that there's research to show that, what do they call it? Rebounding, right? Rebounding increases lymphatic drainage. No, rebounding increases the strength of your muscles and the health of your muscles, which could be done in a much better way by just doing some strength training. So it's not that rebounding helps lymphatic drainage. It's that improvements to the skeletal muscle system improve lymphatic drainage. Then the question is begged, well, is my rebounding the very best way to increase my lower body muscle strength? And the answer is obviously no. It might be more fun.
Looks pretty fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so here in Salt Lake City, we have been gifted this last year a professional hockey
critical
team.
Critical thinking, a lack of critical thinking.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here in the Salt Lake Valley, we were given an NHL hockey team. I've worshipped hockey my whole life. It was such a cool experience to follow this team and be around them. I see them train. They train at a facility about 15 minutes away from my house. It's the Olympic Oval that they were training at last year. And I got to see what they were doing. And I also got to watch what they were doing, all summer training in preparation for the season. It's sexy. It's really cool. It's the bounding and jumping and doing the skating stuff and side to side. Last year, we had two of our key defensemen that had terrible injuries and had to miss like 50 and 60 games each. From these injuries. Now, hockey obviously is a very brutal sport. You get injured. People get injured. Injury prevention, in my opinion and in your opinion, should be the top priority for any trainer out there. I'm looking at the way they're training, even at the professional level, and I think to myself, like, man, I think I would do that differently, but I'm not their head trainers, and these are professional athletes, and you know what I mean? Like I know it's pure speculation, but first, I guess the first part of this question is, would you train them differently than you train anybody else? You would train these professional athletes the same. And do you believe that injuries would be decreased, again, pure speculation, if they trained in a slow burn fashion versus the way that I'm witnessing them train?
Absolutely. You know what an athlete is? An athlete is a human being that engages in athletics. That's it. The end. So, I would train them exactly the way I train somebody who's not athletic, because the human body is the human body. Your biceps are your biceps. Your quadriceps are your quadriceps. Doesn't matter if they're on me or on, Messi, right? So, and anything that causes an injury, like some of the plyometric stuff they do, is, like I said, it's like malpractice. You would have to say, what is plyometrics? That kind of jumping off boxes and things like that. What is that actually doing? Why? You say to the trainer, okay, stop. What do you do with that athlete there you're doing, that professional hockey player? Why are you doing that? Why? What is the purpose of making him jump up and down off of boxes and pulverize his meniscus cartilage? Why? And then usually their answer is, well, it's explosive power. That's not the answer. What causes explosive power? Well, fast movement. What causes fast movement? So they don't think critically, where it all boils down to stronger muscles. Muscles are force-producing engines, and they're capable of producing as force enough to injure yourself, right? So, like, would you make that professional hockey player jump off boxes that were 14 feet high? Oh my God, no. Really? Why? Why? Why not? If jumping off a 4-foot box is so good, let's try a 14-foot one. Oh, no, right. Okay, so the 4-foot one's okay.